Before I attempt this question, there's certain skills that you need to understand if you can do this question. So these are the things you'll need to know. And everything I'm about to show you is within the skills domain of GCSE maths. First of all, you need to know that when you times these two things together, with timesing, if you like, you can put it over 1 to help you out. 1 times x squared is x squared. X squared times 1 is x squared. Right. These cancel out. X squared divided by x squared is just 1. Just like 10 divided by 10 is 1. 15 divided by 15 is 1. X divided by x is 1. Right. So in the same way, x squared divided by x squared is just 1. That's something you need to know. Second thing, you need to know this one. Again, we're multiplying two fractions. X squared times x squared. We're not adding here, we're timesing, so it's x to the power of 4. Right, this one you need to know as well. So when you're multiplying these two, you can make it into a fraction to help you. 1 times x is just 1x. X times 1, or 1 times x, is just 1x. Don't forget, we're multiplying a negative with a positive, so the outcome will be negative. Right, we know x divided by x is just 1. Right, 10 divided by 10 is 1. So that'll be just minus 1. Next one. We're going to be multiplying two negative fractions together. So you know the outcome is going to be positive. So 1 times 1 is just 1. X times x, x squared. And it's a positive because we're multiplying two negatives together. Right, this one here, you can just turn that into a fraction. 1 times x is just 1x. X squared times 1 is x squared. But you need to understand this thing here. There's an x at the top and there's an x squared at the bottom. That means x times x. Right, there's an x on the numerator, x on the denominator. They can cancel out. You're just left with 1 over x. You're probably thinking, where did the 1 come from? Well, that x was technically 1x, wasn't it? So that's why the 1 stays there. We're multiplying a positive with a negative, so the outcome will be negative. 1 times 1 is just 1. X squared times x is x to the power of 3. Right, rules of indices. Positive multiplied by a negative will be a negative outcome. You can turn that into a fraction. X squared times 1 is just x squared. 1 times x is just 1x. But just like you've seen over here, x squared means x times x. You've got an x at the bottom, right? There's an x on the numerator, x on the denominator, they cancel out. You're just left with minus 1x. You can turn that into a fraction. Right, two negatives, when you multiply two negatives together, it'll be a positive outcome. 2 times 1 is 2, 1 times x, 1x. Right, this time we're not timesing. So far we've only been timesing. This one is an adding situation, adding two fractions. Right, you've learnt in the past when the denominator is the same, you copy the denominator across and just add the numerators. 1 out 2 is 3. The last thing I'm going to do is factorize. This can be factorized. If you take the negative 3 out, negative 3 times something to give me negative 3x. So it's the x, isn't it? Negative 3 times something to give me positive 3 over x. Well, it has to be a negative number, isn't it? Because two negatives will give me the positive, and that will be 1 over x. Now, if you think about it, negative 3 times by negative 1 over x, you can turn that into a fraction to help you. The outcome will be positive because two negatives, when you multiply two negatives together, you get a positive. That will be 3 over x is what I've got over here. For this part of the video, I'm going to do a lot of expanding brackets, and I don't want to go into details of how to expand brackets. You will have seen for the first 5 minutes 42 seconds of the video, you will have seen how to deal with rules of indices. You need to be confident with that as well. As I'm expanding brackets, I want to keep the conversation, the talking that I do, to a minimal, so you can just follow what I do on the screen. So here we go. I'm going to start off by expanding this. I'm going to square this side, I'm going to square this, and the effect of that you'll see later on. Obviously there's two of these. X squared times x squared. X squared times 1 over x squared. And we've already seen that at the start of the video, how to do this. Right, at this stage, 1 plus 1 is obviously 2, isn't it? Just make that into a 2. But you'll notice, see this bit over here, x to the power of 4 plus 1 over x to the power of 4. Right, you've seen that right here. It's right here. X to the power of 4, add 1 over x to the power of 4. So this bit and this bit together is worth 322. That bit there. So that's 322 plus the 2, that gives you 324. So x squared plus 1 over x squared squared, this thing over here, is equal to 324. Right, to get rid of squaring, you just square root both sides. So if you square root both sides, you're left with square root of 324 is 18. Plus and minus 18, I'll just leave it as 18 for now. Right, that's the first bit. Right, the second part I'm going to do now, and why I do this, you'll understand later on. Everything will fall into place later on. I'm going to square this. Obviously, minus 1 take away 1. You can simplify that to minus 2. But we know already this x squared add 1 over x squared, just highlighting that for you, is right here, isn't it? That's worth 18, so the bit I've highlighted here is worth 18. It's worth 18. So then 18 take away 2 leaves you with 16. Right, now to get rid of squaring, you need to square root both sides. So you're left with that. Now what I'm going to do, is cube both sides. The effect of that you'll see later on. Right, so let's cube both sides then. Four cubed is 64. Right, I'm going to have triple brackets here now. Right, that's not as daunting as you might think. Already, I've expanded this bit over here. I've already done the working out for this already. As you can see, right here, it's already been done, which is all of this. So now I need to expand the brackets. I'm just going to quickly just double check that. Right, everything I've done here, I've covered right the first 5 minutes of the video, going through the basics of rules of indices. What I can do now is simplify, collecting like terms. So you got x cubed by itself, minus 2x over here, minus 2x take away minus 2x take away 1x is minus 3x. Then you got 1x add 2x. I've covered this in the first 5 minutes of the video. 1x at 2x is just 3 over x. And then that one just by itself. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to factorize. I'm going to factorize this bit over here, and I've shown you how to do that earlier on in the video. So factorize that now. Factor out the minus 3. Right, that's been factorized now. Now I can put everything back in. X cubed goes there, minus 1 over x cubed. Now you'll notice one thing. This bit over here, x minus 1 over x, the bit I put in bracket, is worth 4. You can see here, the bit I put in bracket, this thing over here, is what I've got over here. That's worth 4. So then that's going to be inside the bracket, that's going to be 4. We'll just continue over here. So that'll be x cubed. Negative 3 times 4 is negative 12. I'm going to put the negative 12 to the other side. So by adding 12, both sides. These will cancel. I'm left with, that's 76 over here. If you look back at the original question, calculate the value of x cubed minus 1 over x cubed is this thing over here. It's worth 76. Right, I've answered the question now. Right, this can be done without with a calculator. The working out is slightly different, but I've done this entirely without using a calculator.